Hey guys, so today we are going to continue on with our composites by creating something a little bit different. This is going to involve three different figures instead of one figure. And we're going to have to negotiate both the compositing between the figures and the background, as well as the figures and themselves. Kind of like we did with the bear earlier on, but this is going to be slightly more complicated. So you will need this picture of the rooftop right outside the little exit by the by the orchestra room, as well as a picture of the sky. You would want a picture of the sky seen kind of like from a low angle, not like a sky like the picture of the horizon. You can download this picture of the sky that I have right here, or you could find your own. You could also find a different rooftop if you wanted to. It took me a minute to realize that I couldn't find like a good picture of a rooftop, so I just went ahead and use this one here. But there you go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump right in with the rooftop here. So let me just go ahead and grab this file here of the rooftop and start with the rooftop. We don't want to get any bigger than the background, as it were, right? And then what we'll do is we're gonna mask this out. Actually, what I'll do first is I'm actually gonna get closer in because I want it to be kind of like close into what we're looking at here, because if you think to yourself like, okay, how far up are we from here? This could very well be about 5 feet and stuff, so they'd be pretty far off from view. So I'm going to get this pretty big. I'm actually going to unlock this and then just sort of expand this outwards until the corner is pretty close to the edge here. Right? I definitely want to see some of the roof, but maybe I'll make it go this way here, a good deal bigger, like that. In fact, if we wanted to, instead of doing that, just sort of crop it down, might actually be better. Let me just actually go ahead and just undo this. I'm just going to hit the crop tool over here and sort of crop this kind of downwards like that. And maybe even, oops, not move it, not yet. All right, cool. All right, that's good. I'm going to hit Control and R on the keyboard just to kind of look. So we still have about 4,000 pixels across here, so that's very good. All right. Okay, so here's this. I'm going to cut out the sky with 2 or 3 quick strokes of the pen. So here's this. Let me just real quick get my pen tool here and just start at the center, work my way outwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strokes. Here we go. And I'll just make this a selection and go ahead and make a mask. Oops. We'll just hold down the Alt key and hit your layer mask. That will mask out what's selected. All right, so now let's grab our clouds. So if I look at my clouds, I want to say my clouds here, or my sky. Let's look at the file info. They are about 4,000 pixels across, so that should fit pretty well. So I'll go ahead and drag that on in. Drag this on in here like that. And make sure that that is below the building here, right? And so we've got this, like, if you wanted to say, for instance, size this up slightly, you could, and move the sun around some, not too terribly much bigger than it is, because it does have like a sort of a native resolution of about 4,000 pixels, and we're about 4,000 pixels in here. So yeah, all right, let's bring in our people. We'll talk about how we'll negotiate this little gradient map here in a second. Let's bring in our people here. I'll bring in the first. So you should have 2 people holding a bag from a low angle at opposite shoulders, and you're gonna have a person from the high angle, looking with a scared look on their face. So I'll just drag these guys in one at a time and cut them out here. So I'll just go over here to my quick selection tool and select the subject. That should be pretty fine. Should be okay. I'll just cut him out, and I'll sort of position him up here on the roof, like so. And what I'll do here is I'm actually going to grab this transformation, this bounding box here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say perspective. And maybe I want to make this a little more extreme, so I'm just going to pull this in slightly to make him look a little smaller at the top. It's not going to be like, you can't do it very easily, but you can just do it a little bit here, just to make it a little bit narrower at the top, make it look like it's a little more extreme angle, just slightly. All right, there's that. And then what I'll do over here is I'll grab the next guy, and I'll cut him out. Select subject, and I'll make this into a layer mask here. Let's take a look, see. Looks like everything's fine. And I might shrink him down slightly. Let's compare the bags here, just sort of compare, because I do know Mr. Odom is a little bit shorter than Mr. Villarreal. Done a lot shorter, but I definitely wanted the bags to be about the same size. Gotta move him down slightly so I can't position, because I want the bags are essentially going to represent my legs at this point. So here's Villarreal. Here's Odom. That's about right. Okay, cool. It's okay that he's a little bit taller just because he's higher up. Right, knees down. Okay, that's fine. All right, well, we'll make adjustments as we go. All right, so there's that, and then what we can do from here is drag in the person who is at the high angle, and we're just gonna pop this person in right here, and then cut this person out. Scared look on their face, and you may be cottoning on to how this is gonna go, and I'll just go ahead and make a mask here. Let me just real quick go in and bring in some stuff from my hair at least. So brush tool, I'll switch it to white. I'll make it about 60% hardness, and just gonna rough in some more of the hair. Keep the flow up to 100. And that's really good. All right, cool. And I think it's about right. Get it here. Just, you know, clean up any imperfections you see with your cutout. You don't want any like real obvious gouges or jagged edges here. This is kind of jagged. I'm gonna bring this layer up above the building here. So let's see here. Brush tool, click on this. All right. There's that. For some reason, I wanted to erase the souls here. All right. Obviously, skip through this if you know, as you do yours. You'll have different you'll have different like situations here with your stuff. So, all right. Okay. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. Well, bring back my fingers though. Probably want to go in here and sort of like erase all this. Selection. Actually, no, I'm just going to fill this with black. Fill with black. The same thing here. Okay, there we go. I'll just use that. All right, cool. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this person who has been shot from a high angle, and we're just gonna turn them upside down. I'll shrink this guy down a little bit here. I'll turn him upside down, and the idea here is that whoever is at the low angle is being dangled off a roof by the people holding these bags. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of adjusting here with like scale and with everything. It would make sense that the person who's being dangled might be at a higher angle. If you want to say, for instance, I think it might work better if I sort of flip myself horizontally. I'm just going to click on the sidebar, right click on it and say flip horizontal. that might, like, you know, as far as like the legs matching and stuff, and, you know, position of the hands. I don't like the way that everything is like sort of positioned in terms of like the rooftop and stuff. So I'll just lift this up some. Actually, that's actually not gonna work here. I swear there was more to this. Let's pull this up a little bit. All right, let's go down here, see if I can put some more. Oh, what's that happening? That's fine. We can just drag these three up slightly. Hold down the control button to select things that aren't side by side. There we go. Cool. Obviously, you can have, you know, part of the person cut off. That's fine too. But there we go. Okay, cool. All right, so they're standing right on the roof, and they're sort of like, you know, back a little bit there. That's fine. Okay, cool. All right, so let's see if we can't figure out how to like bring all this together. So I'm just gonna like click on Dr. Villarreal, move him a little bit closer, kind of position his hands around where my, you know, foot would be, and or leg would be, and do the same thing with Mr. Odom. I'll just kind of drag him in place to where he's holding the other leg, and now let's see if we can't do a little bit of puppet warping here. So I'm definitely gonna need to separate his hand from the bag. So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna go ahead and make myself invisible for just a second. I'm gonna see if I can't cut out this bag from their hands. So let's go in here, and I'll just I'll probably speed this up here. Obviously, you can kind of fast forward through this to the end. I don't think you're gonna need to cut out all the details here. You will have to come in kind of or do some erasing here or there. I'll just kind of pull through this way and kind of get rid of all this. And I'm going to make a selection. And I'm gonna make a couple of selections here from his hands and stuff, just around the bag. I'm going to surround his whole body here, the entire thing, and just kind of come up right here next to the bag, and hopefully be able to mask out the entire bag without much fuss. Luckily, he's wearing a dark vest, so that'll work out well, and hopefully whoever was with you. Okay, so I'm going to make a selection, add to selection, and I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to select the inverse. Select inverse, and that way when I color this this mask here with my black pen, my black brush, it's going to just get rid of what's outside of that selection. So I can kind of get rid of all this. So now he doesn't have his bag anymore. All right, cool. And then the other stuff I'll get rid of in due time. But let's bring me back for just a second. And I'll sort of puppet warp my my foot, you know, to be more like in line with his hand there. So let me get my puppet warp going on here with this character. You don't have to convert them to a smart object to get the puppet warp going. You may want to convert it to a smart object later on. I'm going to see if I can clean up some of the sort of material here. But let's just do this number here. Oh, no, okay. Like that. Okay, cool. All right, whatever. You know, we're just not going to be too cautious. You just want to avoid very obvious ripply spots here. All right, so once again, edit, puppet warp. Oh, I guess I do have to make him into a smart object. All right, make him into a smart object. We go over here, edit, puppet warp. I'll just put a couple pins in different spots to kind of like keep this still, and then just gonna drag this over a little bit. Maybe drag this over to over there, and you can sort of reduce the opacity to sort of see a bit better what you're working with. All right, there's that, cool. And then what I'll do is I'll do the same thing. I'll enter that, and I'll pull the opacity back up. Press enter there. Apply the puppet warp for now, and we'll come back to it in a second. And over here, okay, cool. And over here for Mr. Odom, for the person holding the leg, I'll also apply the puppet warp. Let's go over here to Edit, puppet warp. And you should be able to just maneuver this hand by itself without much. Right, I'm just going to have just enough of the hand. Oh, seems to not be able to be seen. Alright, so it's moving out of the way of it. That's interesting. Okay, cool. So you can't move outside of the silhouette. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm actually going to break a rule. We might say, I'll convert this to a smart object real quick. Convert to a smart object. I'm going to rasterize this for now. I'm going to rasterize this layer. Rasterize layer, which is going to allow me just to kind of select certain things. I got my marquee tool, this little like circular marquee tool here. And I'll just make a little selection over this guy. And I'll just move him this way to where it's sort of like his hand's kind of curling around my knee there. Okay, cool. And because it's there, so there you go. So I can convert this back to a smart object at some point. There we go. Okay, cool, neat. All right, so this is the same thing with the other person here. So I'm just going to make myself invisible for just a second. And I'm going to once again select the bag to get rid of this bag here. So I'm just going to select his hands and just a little space around his hands because eventually I am going to mask out other stuff, and I'm going to lose the details of his sleeve over here, but that's okay. So I'm just going to kind of make a little path around one hand, and I'll make that into a selection. And then I'm going to make a path around the other hand here, sort of, I could even leave his sleeve that's in the background there. And I'll see if I can't just move between him and his face. I think all this stuff doesn't need to be there either, so I'll just sort of pull this out of the way. Luckily, he doesn't have a very jagged silhouette. There we go. Cool. Neat. Looking for avoiding any undue parts of the background here. There's that. Make a selection and add to selection. And then we'll go ahead to select inverse. And then we'll just paint this bag out with our brush tool here. So let's go over here. Brush. Set it to black. And just erase all this. Alright, Control D on the keyboard there. It looks like Mr. Odom has a little bit of the bag left over, so I'm going to click on Mr. Odom. I'll make a layer mask here, and I'll just sort of paint out the stuff that's over this way. Sometimes it's hard to tell where some things end and some other things begin, so that's fine there. Okay, cool. Alright, so there's that. And we'll do the same thing before. I'll bring me back, and I can even sort of access the puppet warp here. I might actually bring him just a little bit closer. So V on the keyboard and just bring Mr. Villarreal just a little bit closer here to where that, maybe not that close. Well, maybe that close, yeah, sure. And I'll just erase my foot as if he's like holding my foot behind his head. And then we'll do the same thing before. We'll convert this to a smart object. And then we'll rasterize this. And we'll just sort of select this little hand over here. And just move it down here to where it looks like he's holding on to me. I'm going to actually rotate this too slightly. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with once you have things rasterized. The problem, though, of course, is that it's a destructive change. Once you do those, you can't really go back. So I'll go back over here, and I'll just convert this back to a smart object. And, okay, cool. All right, so now comes the fun part. Now comes the part where we're going to see if we can't, put me, like, kind of in their hands, as it were. I'm going to actually get my puppet warp here. Well, I'll hold that on the back burner. I'm going to make a little layer mask here. And what we'll do is we'll just make me a little bit less opaque, so I can kind of see where everybody is. So I'm going to get my layer mask for here. I'm going to get my pen tool, my black pen, and I'm just going to come in. I'm really just going to like freehand this. So it might take a little bit. You gotta be a little cautious here. I'll make sure this is set to about 60% hardness. And I'll just start erasing things here. Everything's set to 100% except for the opacity of this layer. I'll kind of erase this out. I might actually want to bring it up a little bit higher, like 60% or so. So I kind of see where everything is. I want to erase everything that's going to be behind his hand. So I'll just make this a little bit smaller here. I'll just pull the eraser through his fingers and fists and stuff. So I'm just kind of painting this in. Obviously, this takes a practice hand. If you think you'll be better off just filling it in with a path, once again, you could always just take your path and just sort of like trace around a little more detail with the hand here, and create your path around the person's hand. You can hear my son's running commentary of whatever cartoon he's watching over there. And we'll sort of like pull this out. And then right here, we'll just fill this with black. So now that's masked out part of his hand there from me. And then over here, we'll do the same thing. We'll just sort of mask this out. To me, I'm pretty quick with my pen, so it's not like a big deal for me. He's actually holding part of the bag between his fingers. This was bad direction on my part. You always want to, direct your when you're taking photos. You always want to direct your talent, as it were, to the point you're looking for. Remember, the Alt key helps you pull the direction handles in different directions, so you can make a turn without having a real harsh transition. Alright, almost done with this. Alright. Fill path with black. Alright, this has his hands come in, and there's a little space right here I want to make sure I get rid of as well. Alright, pull that in. Pull that in right there. Fill path with black. I guess he still had the bag in his hand. Okay, I see. Never mind. What we can do is instead we can keep that the way it was. Fill path. Alright, cool. Neat. We'll come back to that later. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so there's that. Oh, wait. Undo that. Alright, so we have all that. And, alright, cool. That's about all we need. Let me bring myself back up to full opacity and see what it looks like. Alright, so that looks pretty good. There are a few places here or there I might want to, kind of fix. Like, for instance, this right here. I don't like this little, angle of his hand, so I can just come into his, layer, do a little layer mask here, and just sort of, erase that. Make it seem like it's wrapping around more. There's that. Cool. I might actually come back over here to my layer and sort of bring back some parts of this. Just to clean this up a little bit. Trying to avoid any telltale signs. Most of this is going to go away when we put in our gradient map, but hey. Alright. Okay, there's that. Neat. Fun. Okay, cool. All right, so there we go. All right, so now we've got this positioned. Let's go on into our color blending here. So first off, let's go over here to our black and white, and we're gonna just make everything black and white. And I think everything seems to be blended pretty well as far as the brightness of the sky. I might actually darken the building some, but we'll do this bit by bit here. So here's the two kidnappers, or loan sharks or mobsters or whatever you want to call it, who are dangling the person over the building. I'm gonna go ahead and put my curves here, and I'll clip this down to this layer right there, and I'll just sort of maybe kind of lighten their shadows up, just I'll darken their shadows up a little bit because they are kind of in front of the sun. So I'll darken their shadows up just slightly, and I might even darken their highlights too a little bit. So I'll do the same thing to both guys. I'm going to darken them a little bit. So just add this adjustment layer here for my curves, and I'll darken this up a little bit too. Make sure this is clipped. Darken this up. Right, there's that. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll keep the building the same. Well, I might darken the building up a little bit. Hey, why not? Because, again, the sun's behind it, so we are seeing, the sun. So I'll just darken this up, darken the shadows, darken the highlights too. As much. Just darken everything. Make it pretty dark. And then do the same thing with me. It darkened me up a lot because I took myself under a lot higher light than the other guys did. So I'll just once again go over here to curves, clip it to me, and then drag this down a good deal. And drag this down a good deal as well. All right, cool. All right, neat. So now we want to apply the same gradient map to all three people as well as the roof. So how do we do that without without it affecting the clouds in the background? We want to keep the clouds the same, but we want to make sure that the three people are all like kind of similarly masked. So we have a couple of ways we can do this. I would say the easiest way, just as far as like keeping edits, within the same document, is just to select everything that's not the sky. So from the bottom here, DSE, so whatever, to the very top here, and just put it all in a group. I hit this little button that says create a new group, right? So group one, and if you just, get rid of that, bring it back here, it just basically, you can do global changes to this group. So I'm going to create a gradient map, and I'm going to clip it to these guys here, right? So you can see it only affects them. I'm going to make sure I have my my gradient map selected right there, that little gradient icon, that half moon icon. I'm going to select that right there, and I'm going to hit my little gradient. I'm going to start finding some colors to pop in here. So I'll pop in this right there, maybe for the shadows, maybe even darker over here. This is that little chessboard again. Here we go, that's good. As far as the highlights go, I'll hit this little kind of lighter, kind of peachy area. As far as the midtones go, I'll find somewhere like over here maybe. Right, I'm going to drag this a little bit further this way. That probably works better. For like the semi-highlights, I could probably select something over here. Like, I don't know, like up here maybe. And pull this a little bit further this way, see what works best. Alright, so just nudge those around, press OK, and then we'll pull the opacity down to about 40%. Alright, so there's that. And then what we'll do is let's think here. We can add a color lookup table in a second, but what I would like to do is add in a contrast filter here. So let's go over here to find brightness and contrast. Clip this. And let's pull the contrast. Let's nudge it up a little bit here. I'm going to zoom in slightly just so we can sort of see what's happening. I just sort of pull the contrast up a little bit. I'm just going to make the sort of shadows and highlights sort of stand out just slightly, a bit more. Kind of the difference between the two, so it makes everything look a little bit different. And then what I'll do is I'll make another one, and I'm going to see if I can't find something here. Color lookup, curves, exposure, pattern. That's fine. All right, what we'll do now is we'll add in a color lookup table just to kind of like sort of put everything together. I'll make sure it's global here, and I'll just load something here. I think I'm going to find something like one of these Fujifilm things over here that will kind of make everything a little bit more kind of crazy looking here. I'll pull the opacity down to about 40% or so. Let's take a look at before, after. There's just a little bit of a starkness to it. I might pull it up a little bit higher, 50 or so. Just kind of blends everything together. Okay, so last thing we'll do before we go, this is fun, but I want there to be a little bit more energy. So I'm going to get my crop tool here, and I'm going to crop it down to be thinner, like so, like kind of thin like this. I want there to be a little bit of and then I'm going to rotate it slightly to where they're kind of up in the corner like that. I'm going to even kind of thin it out a little bit more. And I definitely want to... Hey, other place, go. Hallway. And I definitely want to lower this down to where you can't see the end of the roof here. So I'll just pull this way here. And let's see, can we move it this way slightly so you can see one of my hands? Yeah, that's kind of cool. I could even just like cut off Mr. Villarreal's shoulder there. All right. Let's see what this looks like. That looks cool. All right, so there you go. We've got two guys dangling me off the roof. What did I do? Where's the money? Where's the money, Labello? Where is it at? Very cool. All right, well, can't wait to see you guys produce. Say this is the JPEGs Minute to D2L. See you guys in class.